August 26, 2010. Melissa Roberts, aged 27, took her own life. Melissa suffered the torment of hearing voices. Those that hear voices can learn to live a meaningful life. My name is Katie Rourke. I need to tell you about the Melissa Roberts Foundation. Studies show that about 6% of the adult population suffer from hearing voices or auditory hallucinations. In children under 12, the figure is between 8 and 10%. Melissa first suffered the torment of hearing voices at age 14. She was an excellent sportswoman and a high achiever. But the voices Melissa heard terrified her, day and night. July 20th, 2012, Daltone House, Sylvania Waters. The Melissa Roberts Foundation is launched. All who attended and supported the launch did so with the sole intention to help stop the suffering. Tom Tilley, an ABC journalist, had previously interviewed Melissa, was MC for the evening. Melissa's father, Bruce Roberts, told the audience the good news, that a voice hearer with the right support could lead a meaningful life. He continued, "The Melissa Roberts Foundation acts as a fundraising entity for the Hearing Voices Network New South Wales, a health promotion charity established in 2008. Bruce then officially launched the Melissa Roberts Foundation. Both guest speakers at the launch, Janet and Peter, have both learnt to live with hearing voices. Peter, from England's Hearing Voices Network, travelled from the UK to be at the launch. Janet is a mental health consumer activist and advocate. Janet's talk left the entire audience in no doubt whatsoever of the shortcomings of the existing health system, her experiences with hearing voices, and what's needed to fix the health system. Tom Tilley introduced Peter Bullimore. Peter was to deliver a factual but humorous description of how the system treats voice hearers, and of what he lost and what he found, and how he discovered a road to recovery.
This is our international guest, and Peter is the chair of the Hearing Voices Network in the UK, and the co-founder of the chair of Paranoia Network in the UK as well. And Peter's an expert in hearing voices through lived experience, hearing 40 voices at a time. And Peter is a recovered voice hearer, and by that it means that he's learned to manage the voices and taking his life back into his own control. Now, Peter runs his own training and consultancy agency, delivering training to hearing voices and paranoia sufferers internationally. And Peter's also the business manager for Asylum. It's a magazine for democratic psychiatry, and Peter's also a consultant to the UK Mental Health Service. Peter, welcome to the stage.
Well, good evening everyone, and it's great to be here. Is everybody okay with my accent? I was hoping someone would say no the next hour, you know what I've just said there. Well, let's start by giving a big thank you to Bruce and Jay for organising this event, for inviting me along as well. Well, as I say, my name is Pete Bullimore. I'm a voice hearer, but I'm not just a voice hearer. I am proud to say I'm a voice hearer, in my experience as an Ioman. I spent over 10 years in the psychiatric system, often forcibly detained under the Mental Health Act. When I first went into the system, I was told by a consultant psychiatrist, he said, "Mr. Bullimore, you are a chronic schizophrenic, you will never, ever work again, go away and enjoy your life." I remember thinking, how does that actually work? But I'm now out of the mental health system. I've thrown my diagnosis away because I don't believe in the concept of schizophrenia. Because there never has, and there never will be any scientific validity for that diagnosis. I'm quite happy to say that in my voice here. But I'm part of the Hearing Voices movement. I run an organisation called Asylum Associates, which offers training, consultancy, and set up conferences, and I'm the founder member of the Paranoia Network. I do a lot of work with people. Those are people that have been told that they can't recover. And I average 70 to 80 hours a week travelling around the world, delivering teaching on hearing voices and paranoia. So it goes to show recovery is possible. The psychiatry can be wrong. Now when I talk about psychiatry, I'm not just talking about psychiatrists. I'm talking about every discipline that works under the banner of psychiatry. That is psychology, nursing, OTs, social workers, support workers, right across the board. So I've been doing this work for about 14 years, and I still hear members of staff describe long-stay patients by saying, that person's lights went out years ago. Well, I can assure you, a person's lights never, ever go out. There is always something burning inside that person, and it is the role of mental health workers to reach beyond diagnosis, find that person and reignite that flame. And we do that by creating hope. To foster hopelessness makes that journey to recovery very, very difficult. So language in services should always be positive. Everybody has got the capacity to recover, as long as we do not define a person's recovery. Bruce has asked me to talk a little bit about my journey into madness. I don't really want to go into the real dark side. What I want to look more around is the humorous side of madness. I finished up in psychiatric services, I believe, through being sexually and physically abused for 8 years, from the age of 5 up to 13. Biggest mistake I made through that abuse was I did not disclose. I never told anyone about it. It became suppressed, it became buried. But when I became the father at 18, and I saw the vulnerability of my child, that box started to open. The problems started to seep out. In later life, I went on to own my own business. I was hearing voices from the age of 7. I hear voices all day, every day still. But I managed to own my own business, which could turn £1 million a year over. Within the space of 4 months, I was sectioned under the Mental Health Act, given a diagnosis of schizophrenia, and written off by society. I finished up losing my home, my family, my business, and I lived on the streets for quite a long time. But everybody needs someone to believe in them. And I was very fortunate. I got a worker who was an occupational therapist called Sally. She did a very, very simple thing. She told me about herself, what stresses and traumas she'd had. And I suddenly thought, this person does understand. I spent years as a revolving door patient, thinking workers have no feelings and emotions. I was also very fortunate. I got a psychiatrist called Paul, and Paul was quite radical in his thinking. The reason I mentioned about asking people what's happened in their life to bring them to psychiatric services, it is the most important question you should ask. The average time it takes someone to disclose, if not asked, is 16 years. Now that is a long time out of someone's life before we get to the root problem. If I was going to say to you all, everybody here tonight, give me the next 16 years of your life, and in 16 years' time I'm not going to give them you back, you would be very, very reluctant. So we need to know what's brought people to services. I was very lucky. I got Sally, and she supported me on my mission to try and find out what was going on in my life. When I reflect on the craziness, I started to attend a Hearing Voices group where I felt like I belonged. But I was still searching for meaning and understanding in this world I was living in. So I decided I'd do a self-evaluation. I stopped going to the group. I didn't realise how much support I was losing. I stopped listening to Sally, and I stopped listening to Paul, the psychiatrist. I was very fortunate they didn't give up on me. Now, when I had my business, I used to have 9 people working for me on the shop floor. I hadn't seen one of them since my first admission.